Welcome to JBC. You know what it is.
It's just brothers chopping it up.
Man, I'm glad to be back with you, my brother. Man, it's glad to be at a place of peace and quietness.
This is true. This is true. That's
Yeah,
that's that's a hot commodity these days.
yeah, it really is. And I know people are searching for peace of mind. And as I was spiritually led, it was like the show has nothing to do with the climate of America and the globe right now, because there's so much we could go into with that. But it's like, he said, I have a topic, and it's like flower power. So I was sitting outside, and there was a little area in front of the house that when I first got back, it was grassy. And a friend was like, well, you can make this into a rock garden and put some flowers in it. And so I was like, okay, that would kind of beautify the area. And so I took some time and worked and dig and dug and had to get the roots and all the stuff out of. And then she brought up some flowers, and we took the rocks that I had in the middle of the yard that were just needed to be moved. And we
Hmm.
made it like a little flower garden and put the rocks there to kind of brace it up. And it grew tremendously. And I wish I could show the pictures to the people out there watching, but I was just amazed. And it's
Hmm.
like flowers, a simple flower just added richness to my environment, man. It's like flower power. What
Yeah,
do you think about the flower of
the
flowers?
power of flower. It's a beautiful thing. Plants, even plants in general, man. Seeing them, it's just something beautiful about them. They're calm yet powerful at the same time. They have a powerful silence about them.
I like that.
They feel everything we feel. We come to the house, outside, they feel your energy, and they're listening, and as we know, I feel like, even taking it down to science, we carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. We breathe out carbon dioxide because we can't breathe it, right? I think, or is it,
Yeah, you're right.
and
And
then they take it and, you know,
convert
yeah.
it.
So, but the interesting thing about it is, even though we're putting out things, our energy, the flower is always regenerating, putting it back out, but the flower keeps beautifying every single. No matter what we put out, the flower takes it and it beautifies it and it puts out positivity.
Yeah, and it made me think of a time when the other brother of ours, rest his soul, we were living together, and he had what we call a peace lily, which is kind of popular at funerals. And he had the peace lily there, and I was sitting there hanging around it and got to talking to it a little bit, doing my little Bill Nye Science Guy thing. And I started watering it, taking care of it, spending more time sitting around it. And I would watch. And within 5 minutes of me sitting down beside that plant, the leaves would just bend over into my direction. So I took a few days off, came back, did it again. The leaves bent over. And at that moment, I realized that the energy that I was exuding, which was
Hmm.
positive, it gave back to me. And
Yeah,
like you said, it was taking in the carbon dioxide and giving me oxygen.
yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, and you saw the plant the flower lean toward you.
Yes,
That's interesting.
literally.
Yeah, and I was incorrect. So I'm quirky about that. We we breathe out carbon monoxide, and then the plants take it and bring carbon dioxide. So I want to fix that. But
Right. And so, but
interesting.
it's the power of flowers. And from that moment on, I was able to grow my first plant. And I'll share it live because, we're just talking. And I had some seeds.
Yeah,
And I mean, there were no hemp seeds, them THC seeds, the live ones. And I
yeah.
had never grown any type of, plants or anything at that point except hanging out with the peace lily.
Hmm.
So I grabbed some old Miracle Grow soil because I didn't know what I needed to do. And I planted it. And a few days later, or maybe a week, I might say, a little shoot came out of the thing. And I was like, oh, hell.
Hmm.
And I just let it grow and it blossomed into a nice little bush. And I realized how much sun it needed, but I would talk to it and spend time with it and things of that nature until it came time to harvest it. But that was the first time I ever really grew something just from a seed, and it was like a bunch of seeds that I put together and just put in the Miracle Grow and just blessed it. And
Right.
it blessed me, if you can get what I'm saying.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
So tell me about some experiences you've had with flowers, because I know you kind of have a little thing going on in your home.
Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, yeah, I actually have some flowers that they're called mass canes. They're African flower or plant rather, actually can turn to trees. And so they're very forgiving. They kind of can handle not being loved, being watered quite often, but I water them. But anyways, so that plant, every now and again, you'll get one that produces it flowers.
Okay.
Not all of them flower. No one knows what triggers it. It can be any time of year. No one knows scientifically what triggers it to happen. But it does say that when a plant flowers like that, that is thriving. Last year I had one of the plants that flowered, and this year I had both of them that flowered a lot. A lot
Wow.
of them. So energetically, spiritually, it kind of is on the same length of what you were talking about. Another thing you were talking about when you said that the plant leaned towards you, uh, plants lean toward the sun, right? When you have the sun that's sitting in the windowsill, it leans toward the sun. That means it's reaching for the sun. And that's why they tell you to turn it the other way, but it's reaching for the sun because that's where its positive energy is coming from. So,
Right.
I mean, obviously, clearly, you have some universal positivity going on for your
Yeah.
plant to lean up towards you.
And I'm thinking sun, SON or SUN, but
Right.
it's just the fact that when you take time to watch nature and begin to study, you can get away from the noisy, busy things of life and have something where it responds to you without words.
Right.
And it's the power of the flower. And as I was thinking of this meeting we would share with, I was like, isn't it ironic that Genesis 1, when the world came into being, that they were put into the Garden of Eden,
Mm-hmm.
and everything that they needed was in the Garden of Eden, even the forbidden tree,
Yep.
but everything else was right there for them, and it was in a garden. I was like, wow. I said, we missed this. We
Mm-hmm.
always talk about Adam and Eve and how they fell, but think of their location. Why did he put them in that environment? What's your take on why do you think that was the first environment that mankind was coddled and nurtured in?
Hmm. That's a good question. That's a good question. I'm a pass on that. I'm listening to your response.
From my thought is when you give life, you get life.
Mm.
And it's a reciprocal process. And when Adam was around, everything that was around was there that he needed, and he just had to spend time in that garden and dwell there and let that be his dominion. And as he gave into it, it gave back unto
Mm.
him, like you were saying earlier. So when we have these plants around us, and a lot of us are taking for granted these small things, look at the trees, man. They're just cutting down trees. I, I'm not a tree nut, but they're cutting down too many damn trees. I mean, every place to just put another building up or another business or another strip mall, but they're just cutting down trees, and that helps us with tornadoes and wind and water
Yeah.
stuff.
Right.
So, I don't know. What do you think is the effect of mankind on that part of nature, trees and plants?
It's detrimental. It's totally detrimental. Trees have a lot of they give a lot to the universe. They do a lot for us. So I mean the fact that we've gotten so callous with it to where right now in these days and times where there's trees are cutting down building homes like that, that's detrimental. And even you think about the wildlife, you see a lot of deer running around that are now roadkill because their habitat is now gone. So again, you're talking about get life, give life. The deer also contribute to the environment, as well, and which leads to the trees, flourishing and vice versa.
And
But it's
it's all for the sake of the almighty dollar, because what I'm seeing is, and I know in the city where you live and other cities across this world, across this globe, people are building these places, and then maybe a year or two later, the business doesn't work out or nobody wants to live there, and you still have the building that is becoming dilapidated, but the trees aren't being replaced. So the Arbor Day people are like, they're working against themselves, and it's like all for profit.
yeah. The beauty of Earth, though, even though, yeah, and everything you say is right, and I agree. and I was thinking about it because I took a trip with one of my friends and out of the country, and makes me think of this because you're talking about a home or a building. You take out land, you put a building on top of it, and if the building goes to crap, the business goes to crap. There's a building, you killed off the trees and plants and all that stuff. The interesting thing about Mother Nature
Hmm.
will always take back over. It may be 100 years. A building that you see right there, right now, if it's dilapidated, broken down, the earth over time will consume it. So overall, that the earth and flower, what the earth yields out will naturally will win. Will
Yeah,
always.
and that's a great point because I can just throw this little caveat in here. That's what's happening currently as we speak.
Mm,
And there's this pushback against the EV vehicles, and I'm like, okay, I really want to get a hybrid, so it's like a combination of those two. But there's a pushback now, so they can get back to drilling, getting coal and getting more oil and this and that. And I'm like, wow. I said, if we haven't already depleted enough, there has to be a stop point at some point, and if we don't stop, it's going to stop us. And by stopping us, that means eliminating us.
yeah.
See, that's the sad thing about the whole flower power, where we become so high and mighty because we're I guess, the highest level of creation,
Mhm.
that we take for granted the small things. And that's what this show is really about, the small things that we've taken for granted now that are being trampled upon, but we must go back. You know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you my little friend here. I named her Queen because she started to, no,
Oh.
don't you blur my fire. Okay,
Yeah.
there you go, Queen. And what happened was she was a small little plant in a little cup when I first got her. And then I put her into this larger environment so she could grow a little bit. And now she got her crown on. And I'm sitting there like, whoa. And it was like flower power again. And
Huh.
see, I want people to think about that. Get a dog, but I promise you, if you get a flower and you talk to it and you spend time with it,
Yeah.
it will give you love back.
Mm.
I can promise you and when I saw it and I start seeing the little crowns come up, and I'm like, whoa, sun hit yesterday. I took her out. I gave her about 30 minutes of sun. I'm gonna
Mm.
pull her right back in because didn't want her to get too much, but at the same time, I wanted her just to absorb
Yeah.
in as much as possible.
Yeah.
So that
Hmm.
what do you think made that plant, the African plant you have, what do you think made it blossom when it didn't blossom last year?
Um, kind of like what you just said, the love, the nurturing of it. I was more intentional this time, when I was flowering it, taking care of it. I would wipe the leaves and would intentionally turn it a quarter turn the pot every so often, every time I watered it. And just giving it that love. And like you said, when you give it love, it gives life. Again, those plants, they produce the oxygen for us to breathe. So it's giving us life as we give it love.
Hmm. And it's like the word that keeps coming up when we have our conversations, intentionality.
Intentionality.
And the quote I remember says, "Your intention determines your attention." And
Mm-hmm.
see, what I get up on thinking about my flowers, my plant being calm, being peace of mind, those things get my undivided attention. And other than that, I'm kind of like, and I saw some other benefits, and it was like, I didn't even know it said some things that it does. It helps the quality of soil. It purifies water. I didn't even know plants purify water. When they're running down, um, they can turn into medicines,
Yeah.
and also you can turn their leaves into tea.
Mm-hmm.
Flowers have so much power that we kind of take for granted, and we maybe get caught up into our business of life, and we lose sight of the small things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a quote that says, "Learn to do a small thing great."
Right.
That's hence my flowers, and that's all I'm in these next few years. I want a full garden. You know,
Yeah.
what are some things you have involving flowers in your future?
That's one of the things, like I would love to take my plants, and I want to plant them outside because they actually turn into trees as well. They are both indoor and outdoor plants. So one of the things I want to do is actually like take it out and I guess free it back to its natural habitat outside, and plant
Wow.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. You also have some little interesting things with pineapples, don't you?
Yeah, actually, yeah, I have a pineapple top that I carved out and placed it in some water. Because I want to try that out. I've never planted a pineapple before. So I read up online how to do it. And so you cut the top of it off and I placed it in some water. And ironically, it started sprouting roots. At first, the first few weeks I was like, oh, this is probably not gonna work, but I left it alone, left it by the sun, checked on it one day, and lo and behold, the roots were there. So now it's at a point now where I can actually plant it.
You just said the most powerful point of this whole particular talk. We need to leave them alone. The earth will
Yes.
correct what's incorrect.
Yeah.
But the power is believing in it when you don't see it happening. When you didn't see the roots, you was like, oh man, I don't know.
Right.
But then a little bit more time passing, you saw the roots start to form.
Hmm.
And my plant, when I was laughing, when I had her in a little small, little, probably 10-ounce cup, she, I start putting water and the water would be on the top a day later. I'm like, I know I poured that water in yesterday. And it was like she was telling me, get me out of this little small thing.
Uh-huh.
And at that point, I realized immediately I had to go change her environment. Like you're saying, think about planting your trees on an outside place because they can go into trees. You
Mhm.
know, their environments. And there's a saying I got to go create effective environments. See, we've created hostile environments, CHE,
Oh yeah. Oh
but we
yeah.
have to go to CEE. And that means to get back to small things like what we're talking about. And as I'm thinking about the flower power,
Hmm.
all flowers started from what, my brother?
A seed.
Yeah. Here's a point where family, I'm not going to preach, I'm not going to get into you too bad, but I'm like, when that seed is in the dirt, covered up, no one can see it. There's some work going on. That dirt is
Mhm.
agitated. And the seed has two choices: break out or die.
Yep. Break out or die.
So when we get inundated with this crazy media, news, politics, we got to go ahead in and we got to get in our seed and we got to break out. And however the spirit of creator tells you to break out, it's small. And you know what, Twan? I was thinking that when that seed breaks out, then it has the ability to break through.
Breakthrough. Absolutely.
That is the power of the flower. We got to first break out of this shell that they're trying to put us in.
Hmm.
And then we can break through to our true purpose. And it's going to all come back, like you said, with the earth correcting herself. It's all going to come back. But right now, it's time to break out. Break out of those shells of, oh, I'm depressed, or oh, my money's like this. Break out the seed of, my money ain't right, or I ain't right, or this and that. Or you don't have to go to the club every weekend now. Take a break.
Yeah.
Buy other items that are not so high priced.
Hmm.
There's so many ways to break out, but if you're not willing to break out, you will never.
Breakthrough.
So that's the thing when I thought about this show. Break out so we can break through. Break out of your shell of fear, apprehension. I ain't gonna make it because you've
Mhm.
already made it this far.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you, man. Anything else you want to say in closing about the flower power?
Oh no, sir. I think you nailed it. You nailed it.
Amen. Family, break out so you can break through. And this is always the show called What?
JBC, Just Brothers Chopping It.
And we enjoyed our time with you. We thank you and we wish you peace, blessings, and so much more. Be well.